Hello, Michael here with another Michael's Guitar Reviews. Today we have a Squier Classic Vibe Jazz bass. This is the 70s version, very much different looking to its earlier counterpart guitar. One thing that is interesting, and perhaps some of your comments will help to shed light on this, but in their early days Fender were considered to be really good, and then they were taken over by a company called CBS. And apparently, in the 70s, the quality left something to be desired. So quite why anyone would choose to promote 70s type guitars made by that same company does make me wonder. Whereas some of the earlier ones I can fully understand. But I'd be interested in your comments on that. But let's start by looking at the guitar overall, and then I want to talk a little bit about the setup, because this guitar supposed to have been set up by the store, but the action is so high you could drive a bus through there. We need to work on that, and we will do. We'll get it nice. First of all, traditional headstock, Squier logo, got a string tree there, which is very important because when the strings go over the nut, they want to be pulled down in order to help to avoid buzzing. If the strings are too flat, then there's a risk of buzzing. It's a 38.1mm width at the nut, so it's a relatively narrow starting point. It does widen out considerably as it goes down the neck. One thing I do like about this as well is that they've followed the black styling along the edge of the fingerboard, which I think looks quite nice. The nut itself is bone. It's cut perfectly. The strings sit on top of it and just inside the grooves perfectly. Got the traditional open tuners there at the back. The neck is a C profile, very comfortable. It's maple. The fingerboard is maple. And you'll notice straight away that it has block inlays rather than dots. These are also, or the dots rather, are followed through at the side. You probably won't be able to pick those up on camera, I don't think. Skunk stripe, so-called, at the back there, and of course there's a truss rod all the way through the neck, which we will need to come back to in a short while. Traditional jazz bass shaped body. The body itself is made from poplar wood, sculptured at the side, which is really nice. The neck is bolt-on, of course, with a plate with 4 screws holding the neck on. A scratch plate that's a laminated scratch plate, so it's got a white seam just around there. I don't know if you can see that at all. It has 2 Alnico Fender designed pickups, one in the centre, one towards the bridge. These are controlled by rotary controls, one for a volume control for each of the pickups and a common tone control. And of course there's where the jack lead goes in. Strings go all the way through the bridge, and they go across traditional string saddles, which can be adjusted both for height and backwards and forwards for intonation. And that's something we need to look at today, again, because the action and the intonation on this guitar is not good. Just a reminder, if you look at that, you can see just how far the strings are off the fingerboard, drive a bus through there, and the intonation needs sorting out as well. But we're going to do that in the video before we listen to what it sounds like and also talk about how it plays. So, without further ado, we're going to adjust the truss rod, which runs all the way down through the inside of the neck, because there's too much of a forward bow on this neck, and that needs to be sorted out. So we're going to do that now. Here we go. Right, we're going to adjust the neck now, and in order to do this we need to make sure that we select the correct size of Allen key or hex wrench or hex spanner or whatever you want to call it. But you need to make sure this is the correct size. It fits into the slot which is in the headstock here. It's very important to get the size right. If you don't, if it's too small and you start to apply pressure, there's a risk that you're going to damage the inside of the nut that adjusts the truss rod. Doing that leaves you in a bit of a pickle really, so don't do it. Make sure you get the right size key or spanner to begin with. Now, a general rule of thumb, when you're adjusting the truss rod, you must go very slowly, carefully and sensitively. If you become over vigorous and you over tighten the truss rod, there's a risk that you're going to cause too much pressure inside, and that's going to cause damage to the fingerboard or the neck, and then you're in deep water, big trouble. Go slowly and check each time. I tend to use, and I am not a luthier, right, so this is just my way of doing it, and I've done many of these and it has worked every time, is I consider the amount of turn that I need to do each time to be about the same as the distance between the strings. So if you do a tiny bit each time and check again, you're unlikely, or less likely shall we say, to cause any major problems. If you want to tighten the truss rod, then you must go to the right. That's looking this way, righty-tighty. And if you want to loosen the truss rod, then obviously it's the opposite way around, lefty-loosey. Tightening the truss rod will bring it from that sort of profile, which this one has, to become straighter. If you over tighten it, then you're going to continue that process and make the bow a back bow and put enormous amounts of pressure underneath the fingerboard. So go steady. So in this case, we're going to tighten it to bring that C shape to a more straight shape. Now it mustn't be absolutely straight. There should always be a small amount of clearance. So in other words, it's never going to be a straight neck. It's going to have a very slight relief part way down the neck. And conversely, we don't want it to go the other way, because obviously strings, as soon as they hit that peak, then you're going to get problems. So just to go back again, it needs to have a very, very slight relief. In other words, it's a very slight C profile. We do that very carefully and we take our time. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the wrench nut key rather into the slot at the top of the headstock, which is really quite awkward, but there we are. That's now in position, and I'm going to tighten it very slightly this way, approximately the distance between two strings. Bit of resistance, but not too much. Now I'm going to check again and just see what that profile's like. Holding it down at the 17th fret, still quite a bit there. And if I look along the length of the neck, I can see that there is some curvature. So again, I'm going to replace the key into its next position. Right, here we go. Some people like to loosen the string tension, but the point there is that if you do that, when you adjust the neck and you put the tension back on, it's potentially going to add some change to the neck profile. So personally, I prefer to do it while the strings are under tension and in tune, but that's just my personal view. Here we are, and now again a small tightening, just a little bit, and we'll recheck. Still a little bit there. Let's have a look at the profile. That actually is coming really good. In fact, I think that is probably about right. I'm happy that the amount of movement there is considerably better than it was. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm happy with that. That looks a lot better. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the height of the string saddles, so we can bring the string height, or the distance if you like, between the string and the fingerboard a little bit closer together to give us a lower action, which will make playing a little bit easier. Of course, not everybody likes a low playing action. Some people prefer it higher. Again, this is a personal preference. I like the action to be a little lower and a little lighter. So we're going to adjust the string saddle height now, and we're also going to adjust the intonation. Here we go. Okay, here we are now. We're going to adjust the height of the string saddles. These are adjusted by use of a small Allen key either side of the string. Again, it's important to get the correct sized Allen key. Don't risk trying to use one that's slightly too small, because you will risk doing damage to the inside of the nut part of the bolt or the screw. I've mentioned in previous videos, if you're going to reduce the height, it's okay to leave the strings under tension. If you're going to increase the height, you are going to put pressure on those tiny screws, and that pressure could potentially damage the threads. So advice is, if you're going to raise the saddle height, just loosen the tension off the strings a little so that you're not putting too much pressure on those screws. But going down, it's fine, because you're not increasing, you're actually decreasing the pressure. It's important that those string saddles are kept relatively level. So I generally tend to do each side alternately until it comes down to the level that I'm happy with on the fingerboard. I won't bore you with that on the video. It's entirely self-explanatory, and then we'll come back and deal with intonation. Here we go. Now, intonation. We need to make sure that when we play any of the notes on the scale, that the intonation, that's to say the pitch, is correct as it should be. The way to do this is not as complicated as it seems. Now that we've adjusted the height of the strings from the fingerboard, we need to make sure that the string length gives us the correct intonation. Now, the way to do this is pretty simple really. You need a tuner, whichever tuner you like. You need to make sure that it's set correctly for a bass guitar in this case, or if you're using it for any other type of guitar, then make sure it's set appropriately for that one. Basically what we're trying to do is this. We want to make sure that when we play a note, in the case of this bass guitar, a G, that when we play the 12th fret, it sounds the same. If it's slightly flat or slightly sharp, then the intonation is not correct, and we need to adjust it, and it's very simple to do. In this particular case, as you can see on this guitar, there are some screws at the base of the bridge, and those screws, using an ordinary crosshead or Phillips screwdriver, will make the saddle, the bridge saddle, go either forwards or backwards. So if you tighten it, then that's going to pull the bridge saddle back, and consequently, if you think about it in a macro sense, pulling it back is going to mean that the saddle is further away from the nut, so therefore the string effectively is a little longer. And if you go the other way, if you loosen it, then that's going to allow the saddle to go forward. Now sometimes when you're loosening it and letting the saddle go forward, it will stay in its position, and you might have to just apply a little bit of pressure onto the bottom of the screw just to push it forward a little bit. That's just a tiny tip, but essentially this is all you need. Into the screw at the back there, and either tighten it or loosen it depending on whether the pitch is too flat or too sharp, and just keep checking it. So make sure that your guitar open string is in tune, and then make sure that when you press that 12th fret you get exactly the same note. So backwards or forwards on the bridge saddle will make it either slightly flat or slightly sharp, so you need to play around with that depending on what your particular guitar is or the one you're seeking to adjust is. And just again, small amounts each time, and you'll be able to see on your tuner, if you've got one of those tuners, either it's an analog or a digital one, it doesn't really matter, but you'll be able to see each time you play the note whether or not you're getting closer or further away from exactly the note you want. Once you've done that, then the intonation has been set. So essentially, with this particular guitar, we've been through a process of adjusting the neck because it's been slightly bowed. So although it's still got a slight bow, which it needs to have, it's not got to be completely flat, It's now pretty close to what it should be. Also, the strings above the fingerboard, they've been adjusted, so for me, I like it a little bit closer to the fingerboard. I've brought the strings slightly lower and set the intonation just by moving the bridge saddles backwards or forward and checking that the open string, when it's in tune, is the same note as I'm playing there. And that's it. Nothing more complicated than that. Once you've got the confidence to do it, and if you try a few times, as long as you're careful, you're not going to do any harm. And it is just a matter of being persistent and persevering. Once you've done that, it'll pay off because it's you that's done it. Well done. Okay, we've got our guitar set up now. Next thing to do, what does it sound like? Let's have a go. I'm going to have, first of all, both pickups blended, so the volume controls for each pickup are now on full. And I'm going to have the control that controls the tone, the rotary control here. I'm going to have that fully clockwise, so it'll give us a more trebly sound. We'll play a little bit on that. Then I'm going to move that control knob round to the more bassy side and see what it sounds like. Here we go. Right, let's take that control knob all the way around now to a more bassy side. Still got both pickups on full. A lot warmer. Now I'm going to take the bridge pickup all the way off. So we've just got the centre, or the neck pickup if you like, on, with the bassy setting on the tone control. Here we go, just this pickup now. Same pickup with the tone control all the way around to the clockwise direction, giving us a more trebly sound, but we're still on this pickup here. Pretty wide-ranging sound there. I'm now going to turn this pickup off and introduce the bridge pickup fully. And we've still got the rotary tone control clockwise for a more trebly sound. So I'm expecting a trebly sound now, because more trebly sound at the bridge pickup anyway. And with this rotary control round fully clockwise, it should be very trebly. Here we go. Pretty trebly. Let's rotate that control all the way around to the bassier side. We're still on the bridge pickup. Here we go. Nice range of sounds there. I'll go around to the central position now, so we're neither on fully treble or fully bass on the tone control, and I'll bring the I'll keep the bridge pickup on full and leave the neck pickup or centre pickup off. So it's just midway now between the bass and the treble. Let's take that bridge pickup off and bring the centre or neck pickup on full, and I've still got the rotary tone control halfway between treble and bass. now both pickups on full with the tone control in the midway position between treble and bass. Well, what's the verdict? I like it. I like it. I like it very much. It's got a really nice broad range of sounds. It's a well-balanced guitar. It does seem a little top heavy, if you like, towards the headstock end, but otherwise comfortable on the thigh. Not too heavy. Nice. Everything's nice about the frets, for example. They've been well finished. They're quite tall, quite narrow frets, so precision of fretting is straightforward. The appearance of it's nice. It's unusual. Probably not to everybody's taste, but yeah, I like it. A nice working bass guitar. I'm sure this would be perfectly okay if you want to take it out on the road, use it for recording, or practicing, whatever. I mean, it's a nice bass guitar, and yeah, I think it's got a nice range of warm tones and a nice range of more trebly sounds as well. So it seems to me that it would fit in a whole wide range of different genres of music. So there we are. Michael's Guitar Reviews again. Now please, 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 please subscribe. Please. The more people that subscribe, the more we're going to get the channel out there, the more people are going to be able to share in this love of guitars. Just like you and me. Why not? Let's not starve them of it. Subscribe, let's get it out there. But in the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please check out the others. There are loads of them out there now on Michael's Guitar Reviews. And obviously share them. Thanks a lot. Bye for now. Bye.